Good afternoon, all. I am going to call to order this meeting on August 1st, 2024, with our executive session. I need to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. I need a motion to approve. Jane motions to approve. Second. And all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries. Second order of business, the approval of secretary's fees. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve and a second. Seconds. And that all in favor? Any opposed? Nay. Everybody's good. Fantastic. Carries unanimously. That will we're gonna pause. Okay. We're gonna call back to order our executive session this day, August 6th. We've been presented with an agreement between parties in a matter involving 108 Ridgeview Avenue. 90. The neighbors at 108. See, that's what you get for giving me stuff to read. There was a condition of approval on a variance granted to 90 Ridgeview Avenue. And the neighbors have come to an agreement to remove the condition of approval for the variance that stands, second story windows to be removed. Neighbor at 108 is allowing the construction of windows on all stories of the north elevation abutting the property at 108. So what we need to do is, I need a motion to move the condition of approval and sustain the variance granted at 90 Ridgeview Avenue. And a second, please.
Second.
No discussion. Any discussion? Questions? Anything you can ask or anything else? I'll make the simple statement that we should always be in the business of maintaining good neighbors. And if neighbors come to an agreement, find that amenable. So I'm going to make a question for the comfort of my board. Joe, you want to go first this week? Sure. And we'll move down and back. Okay. So, Joe, is a yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going from Joe down, so you didn't have to go first.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And I am a yes. So that carries. We're all set. Thank you very much. Okay. I have to pull up our agenda. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the August 1st meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have something 6 that canceled, correct? Or was withdrawn. So if you are here with any reference or interest in business on the agenda number 6, I was just going for 131 Sasco Hill Road, map 231, parcel 231, petition of 131 Sasco Hill Road, LLC. That business will not be heard today. So thank you for coming and being interested, but that matter has been withdrawn. First and foremost, when a matter is first called, the applicant or his or her agent will present the case. Once the call is complete, originals of any petitions should be given to our clerk, Jody. Copies of the petition should then be distributed to the board members After the applicant's presentation, all interested persons in favor of the application will come forward and speak. After those in favor who have spoken, those in opposition will then be heard. The applicant or his or her agent may then address the comments made by those in opposition. This is not a time to relitigate your case. This is not a time to go back and say everything again. Ask that you simply address the issues brought forward by anyone who is in opposition. We will also ask that you keep your introduction of your case and your case as pertinent to the matters of zoning as possible. All are those of heart. We all understand that there are reasons that you're asking for this. However, the requirements are that you show some manner of hardship. Some people aren't really good at that, but we have people on our board who are exceptional assistance in finding such things within an application. So don't worry, help will abound. But we ask that you keep it to your application. Okay. Second, this meeting is being taped as required by state law. It is important that we be able to understand the tape. Therefore, only one person may speak at a time. Anyone who speaks must come forward, speak into the microphone, and give his or her name and address. Welcome the comments of all interested persons, but we must exercise discretion in making sure that your comments are on the point. If you are too far off the point, we reserve the right to restrict your comments at any time. These restrictions will include matters that are not in the purview of this board. We do not hear traffic. We do not legislate over lights or noise ordinances or anything else. We simply look over the property that's made on that property. Also, do not litigate neighbor issues. Third, applicants and interested persons may remain in attendance after the public hearing for the executive session to find out what was decided, or you may call the zoning office tomorrow morning to find out what was decided. Fourth, if an application for a waiver is granted, waiver is not valid if the notice is not recorded. The applicant must bring a check in the amount of $60 made out to the town of Fairfield, to the zoning office on the Wednesday or later following the meeting for proper recording of the notice of filing. Any waiver involving construction of a new dwelling, addition, or interior alterations will require an as-built survey prior to the issuance of certificate of zoning compliance and certificate of occupancy. We've gone over what your hardship is to the point. Not sure what your hardship is. Don't. So let's get started with first order of the day. That is number 7 on our continued docket, 100 Sturbridge Lane, map 226, parcel 42A, petition of Michael Hanna for a variance of zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the side setback from 25 feet, currently 30.9 feet, proposing 16 feet, permission to construct a 1-story garage addition. Premises is AA zone.
Why does it say it's continued to 9/5?
Because it was.
Because it was. It's- Oh, it's on the new agenda, the one that didn't. Guess what, if you're here for that, sorry. It's at 9:05. This is what happens when I go off technology. Okay, on to number 1. Everybody's here for this, I would assume. 111 Toll House Lane, map 14, parcel 59, petition of Christina Hodson, Revocable Trust for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4.3, to reduce the street line setback for an accessory structure from 40 feet, currently 26.4 feet, proposing 26.4 feet. Permission to legitimize an existing shed. Premises is R3 zone.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Macaluso. I'm the property manager at 111 Toll House Lane. We are requesting a variance for a shed we had placed on the property within our existing fence line. Brought to our attention during the permit process for the deck that the shed was too close to the street setback. We're asking for this variance because if I push the shed back any further, we start to run into an egress window and also a Bilco door. Past that, parts needs to slope up drastically. This was the only flat and level land that we had. It's the shed. To the rear of the property, flat space there is a pool. To the right of the house is drastically sloping down to the right. That was the only acceptable place to place that shed. So I have
Do you have any questions? Go ahead.
Are you putting the shed on gravel or on a?
it's a gravel, yes. Could be moved in the future, yes. Run into some obstacles, tree line on the left side. Egress window and Bilco door. Going back the slopes. Right before we started building the deck and taking out the building permits.
So to be clear though, when you put the shed in, you were unaware that you were infringing in the setback.
Yes, because we did measure grass line. Of course, we were inside of an existing fence line, so I thought we were safe, but I was wrong. That's the only flat level area that we have. We hit some obstacles, past those couple obstacles, or sloped.
Don't have a survey, you can show us where all those things are.
Yes, I do have one that's up, but it only shows the door. Left of that is also a big egress window with a
So it couldn't just be moved 5 feet back where it is.
That'd be 15 feet.
I know, but every little bit helps when you're talking about a setback from the street. You don't want to set a precedent for having things sitting on by the curb.
have a small section of grass, maybe a foot long foot of grass, and then a big tree line side of the fence line. It's right, if you're looking at it, it's on the right side of this. Small grass walkway.
How big is the shed?
It's 8 by 14.
So it's
Less than
200 square feet. So to move it 15 feet, that's what you're saying?
Just wondering how far back, like right there. Is that possible? I mean, it's hard to tell with just a flat survey. Could it be put on the other side of the house, like where the,
look at the other side of the house right after.
driveway ends, right against the house?
pool equipment there, and then it's drastically sloping out to the right.
So what about right in front of the pool equipment? Against the house or against the garage or whatever that is?
We're just trying to keep it within the fence line for
That's what locks on doors are for.
yeah.
Exacerbating anything. We'll talk about it after. Any further questions? Okay, anybody in the room here to speak in favor of this application or online? Seeing none and hearing none, yes, ma'am,
Can I make one comment?
you may.
It's just to answer your question, the point right here, it's a 100-foot elevation. Here is 10 feet higher. So it slopes up.
I'm looking at like right in front of the pool equipment, much farther back.
Our lot goes all the way up on that side, down, full house, that side, all slopes up.
The pool equipment is balanced on a slant.
It's only about like, add to that. The shed itself is a little bit bigger than that. I'm just answering your question in regards to the slope topography. It's a little bit hard to see on this.
Right, then there's like, it doesn't have, often they have like little lines to show
Yeah,
you.
they didn't have that on this. There were just two marks there. I just wanted you to be aware of what they were. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hearing is closed. On to number 2, 20 Ronald Drive, map 76, parcel 11. Petition of Susan and Mark DiStefano for a variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4.3, to reduce the sideline setback for an accessory structure from 10 feet, currently 2.1 feet, proposing 2.1 feet, permission to legitimize an existing shed. Premises is R3 zone.
That's me. My name is Susan Stefano. I knew that the shed was under the square foot amount to get up.
Just give us your address. I know it's your application, you just.
20 Ronald Drive,
There you go, thanks.
and I knew that the shed is a 12x8 and it was under the square footage that required a permit. So I didn't know that it needed a zoning permit until I had the survey to. Shed. And I have a corner lot. So that limits what I'm able to do, I guess, with the zoning laws. All my neighbors are okay with it. I have it on 4 cinder blocks, a big 4-foot, put it in. I got the shed when I was studying for my nurse practitioner. Because of COVID, I didn't want to go to the library. I had space because I have young kids, a small house. And, all the neighbors that live around me, they signed the petition and they were okay with it. So I mailed it in even, so I got the 5 that were required for the 250 square feet. And it's on a flat spot. It's convenient. It's located. I'm afraid if somebody were to even try to move it, it's a wood shed with a 30-year asphalt shingles on it, and I'm afraid that it would break apart.
Any questions from the board? Go ahead, Jane.
I got it in 2022, I think. Yes. Now I have the 4 cinder blocks. They put it on and leveled it. It's like so what's preventing you from just like in the middle of the yard?
Push it towards the house.
I don't understand where I'd have to put it. because I have a garage door in the back and in the front. So it might be in the way of the garage at that point.
Well, the survey just shows the driveway coming to one house. Driveway on the side.
Yeah, there was a driveway in the back at one point and we had it dug up so we'd have a backyard.
So it's just the one driveway.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really preventing you from taking a shed.
Well, we left the garage doors on the back. That was originally the entrance to the garage. So our house, and we left that sort of like a breezeway, so you can kind of go side to get access to the
Even
backyard.
moving that shed, so you're within the 10, it's not anywhere near the garage doors.
Going straight ahead 10 feet, you mean?
10 more feet.
So that. Is that back from the back, the cemetery, or from the
Property
neighborhood?
line that it's showing 2 feet.
Problem is it would take up the backyard space that we have for my kids. We don't have a.
In there? So does it have electricity? Just a place you sat?
Just a quiet space away from a 3 and 5-year-old. Just pure, and I thought it was a genius idea, and I thought maybe at some point I could make it a she shed, but it's just a quiet space because of the pandemic. I was going for my advanced practice. So my basement's not finished. I had nowhere to go other than my bedroom. This is when I got it. Also, the house is small, so this way we could put the stuff out of the garage there. And then we could safely.
Anybody in the room here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone online? Seeing none, hearing none. Anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none and hearing none, matter is closed. Thank you very much. And number 3, 218 Woods End Road, map 147, parcel 71. Petition of David Finger and Michelle Schneider for a variance in zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the sideline and sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 7 feet and 25 feet, currently 6.6 feet and 23.7 feet, proposing 6.6 feet and 23.7 feet, permission to construct a 2nd floor addition with attic above. Premises is A zone.
Rome 218 Woods End Road. Basically, the existing house is not conforming. Basically, do nothing to the house at all. It's a hardship. 2nd floor.
Questions from the board?
I just want to confirm you're not.
No footprint. No.
Or is with.
Yeah, we're-
Anybody else? That's it. You're all set. Thank you. And on to number 4. Petition of 55 Pope Street, map 42. What? Oh, sorry.
Just in case.
Anybody wanna speak in favor of the previous application? I have to reopen it. It's reopened. Anyone online? Nope. Anyone here to speak in opposition to that application? Either here or online? Nope. Now matters close. Thanks, Christine. And on to number 4, 55 Pope Street, map 42, parcel 441A. Petition of Benjamin Diabane and Sarah Assay for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the sum, I'm reading the right one, yeah. Two sideline setbacks from 20 feet, currently 15 feet, proposing 15 feet. Permission to construct a second floor addition, premises is B zone.
Hi, my name
Online?
is Benjamin. Yeah, I'm online. Our hardship is we now have a pre-existing non-conforming lot and dwelling lot size, shape, and location of existing structure. The required sum of two sideline setbacks are 20, and we are currently have 15. We are not seeking to reduce the sum of the setbacks and just wish to construct over the existing structure and foundation for the maximum stability of our home. Thank you.
Any questions? Go ahead, Jane.
I just want to confirm you're not increasing the coverage and you're still under the FAR, correct?
Yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, seeing none from the board. Is anyone here to speak in favor of this application, either here or online? Anyone wishing to speak against this application, either here or online? Seeing no opposition and hearing none, close the hearing. Thank you very much. And we are on to number 5. So the application of 550 Davis Road, map 47, parcel 172, petition of Sound Vision Group, Davis LLC, for variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the secondary street line setback from 30 feet, currently 22 feet, proposing 25.8 feet, section 5.2.5, to increase the total lot coverage and floor area from 15% and 30%, currently 14.7 and 14.4%, proposing 17.1% and 37.2%. Permission to construct a new 2.5-story single-family dwelling with front porch. Premises is R3 zone. Introduce yourself, sir.
Ken Betza, I'm a managing partner of Sound Vision Group Davis. I'm here to present variance request, so thank you for this opportunity. I'm applying for a 5.24 and a 5.25 regarding setbacks and lot coverage. I'm pleased to say that the current setbacks on the neighbor side is 6 feet, and we will be bringing it to 16 feet. So adhering to that setback. On the Davis Street side road, the house is currently at 30 feet with a 40 feet setback. We're meeting that, so we're taking the house back to 40 feet. And on the Woodland side, and I should say that this is a corner lot. It's currently at 22 feet. We are bringing it to 30 feet, except for a small portion of the house of 15 feet at 25 feet. So we are requesting 5 feet over the setback. So we are bringing more setback to 3 sides of the property, or non-conforming. I should also add that 80% of the homes in this area are non-conforming lots. Have a corner lot that is also non-conforming. I designed a 4-bedroom, 4-bath home to the needs of a new buyer in Fairfield. Managed the garage to keep it smaller than I would have preferred, just to make the house as tight as possible. And lot coverage, you know, add a lot. There's no movie theater on the house. It's a basic colonial 4-bedroom, 4-bath house attached to car garage.
else?
So the hardship to that is corner lot, non-conforming, not 100 by 100, and we're trying to accommodate neighbors and aesthetically pleasing house to the neighborhood.
Questions from the board, Jane?
I knew you were gonna ask a
Of
question.
course, I mean, so you're over on coverage, way over on FAR.
Sorry, way over on,
You're the FAR. You're 72% over.
so, okay, we're at 37% versus 30.
It's the volume of the house.
Right, so if you look at the neighboring houses, most are non-conforming, most have been increased higher or added square footage. We're almost on par with a lot of the other houses. We don't look at it that way, okay. So I go back to, it's a corner lot, it's very difficult to build a new house that would be under 30% or meet the 30%. It's cost prohibited. We're trying to give, what the buyers are looking for is a new house that has 4 bedrooms and baths.
So it's economic.
It's not just economic, it's just design of the house alone. People would like a 2-car attached garage. Houses right now in the area, first of all, the house that we purchased is a cinder block home, so it's disarray. And so we're bringing a high quality home to the
You're
area.
starting with a clean slate.
Slate,
It's custom design.
it's custom design.
Thank you.
Can I steal a pen from somebody for a second so I can remember and know? Pause it. Thanks.
Jane, as you did the math, how many square feet is the house? Can you tell me?
So it is 1,390 square feet on the first floor and 1,759 on the second floor.
So it's a little over 3,000 square feet. And what is the math to meet FAR? How many square feet would the house need to be?
So
7.2% less? Is that about how we would think about that?
that's good. I didn't do that math.
But I would guess that's the math.
That would be the math, yes.
So 7% so you'd lose like, I don't know, 600 square feet probably, so it'd need to go to a 2,400, right? Would you, how much?
50?
Yeah, I said 300, it's close, So you'd have to make the house, just to comply with that, like 2,500 square feet.
50 less.
27.
2,700, right?
Let me just do the math. I'm fairly good in math, but I'm throwing here for a second. I would have to decrease, so it's at 37%. That is gross. Right? That includes the garage, the porches.
Everything enclosed.
So that,
Porches.
am I right?
Enclosed porch,
I have no enclosed porch. I have,
not count towards your floor area.
so from wall to wall, we're at 4,200 square feet. Garage steps down.
But you don't count you do count the garage.
That's
Garage
what's
and the
bringing me
steps,
to
yeah.
30, that's what's bringing me to 37%. So if I remove the garage from that equation, I think I'm at 32%.
So, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, you calculated the 37 point?
No, the surveyor did,
So the surveyor understands how to calculate FAR,
but
does
they count from exterior wall, entire house, and anything that's over 12 inches. So if you have 2 steps, part of that is counted.
that's coverage, we're talking, that's coverage and
That's what-
FAR, no, they're
No,
two separate.
FAR is a
things.
separate calculation.
FAR is only
Enclosed space, it doesn't count garage, it doesn't count gas.
Yes, it does count the garage.
Does count the
Does
garage.
count.
Counts enclosed space.
Enclosed, okay, enclosed space, okay.
Enclosure. Anything within the
So-
enclosure. is
Okay,
envelope
so,
of the
all
house.
right, I hear what you're saying.
So
So if I remove that, I'm really at 32%. So, and thank you for that clarification. I wasn't on the survey, so
It's on there.
is it? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't focus on it.
That's the 37.4%.
First time I've been wrong.
Sorry, 37.
So if you look at it that way.
Okay, so all questions have been asked and answered from the board. I'm gonna ask one really quick because sometimes I stink at reading these things and I'm gonna put a little ignorance. Minimum lot area on this property is 20,000 square feet, correct? The existing condition is 9,380 square feet, correct?
It's 11,000.
11,000. Reading right here. 550 Davis, right? The right one.
That's a neighbor's lot.
Looking on it.
It's the top number.
Yeah, that's what I was looking.
11,390.
Looking at the wrong one. Okay, but it's still 20.
That one.
Yep.
20 is required
Minimum lot area is 20
in the house.
and he's at 11. So he's just under half of that. Existing condition,
No, I'm just over half.
just over half of that, sorry. I'm still looking at my 9.3. Okay, just wanted to understand. Alright. So any questions, well, not any questions, anybody here to speak in favor of this application? Here or online? Seeing none and hearing none. Anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, come on up to the podium. Introduce yourself, name and address, please.
It's Nene of 547 Davis Road, directly across the street from residents. Just 4,200 square foot coverage, just seems awfully large for the rest of the houses in the neighborhood. I just wish he did a house recently on Harvester, which is the same school district, which was, I think, 2,600 square feet, and a lot that was only 600 square feet less. So I don't see the hardship. The same house could go here, maybe expand it a little bit. I just think it would be much more in the normal of what we have in the neighborhood.
Absolutely. Anyone else here to speak in opposition? Hold on, have a seat, boss.
Go back.
You can go back up when all the opposition's done, sorry. No problem.
I'm not really sure what I'm saying. My name's Janice Hamilton.
And your
I own the
address.
abutting property on Woodland Road, and I just think that it is enormous. My property is under 1,000 square feet. That's- I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. Have a seat. Thank you. Now you may address.
No, you got a chance.
Oh, do I have anybody online? Sorry. I always forget to ask the people in the other world.
I have no hands raised, so.
Okay. I don't see anybody raising their hand. I see Eileen jumping up and down. I just don't know if she's trying to unmute. If anybody wants to speak online, raise your hand, either
Yeah.
physically or otherwise.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Eileen Nene, and I'm here with my neighbor Robin. And we both feel the same way. We've both been lifelong residents. We love our neighborhood. We're not opposed to building changes, reconstruction, but we also agree that it's going to change the character and integrity of the neighborhood we've come to love so much. And I don't know if Robin wants to say anything.
I just want to say that, I'm living in my parents' house. When I was born, I was brought to the house on Davis Road and, you know, I knew Mr. Phelps, the person who owned the house, and I can't imagine what it's gonna look like being set back so far and just looking at a side of a house when all the rest of the houses on the street are facing Davis. That's my issue. I know that he has every right to turn the house and make it a Woodland house and not a Davis Road house, but I do have a problem with it. I didn't sign the variance.
Actually, very few of us that are affected signed it. And I think that should speak volumes as well. None of us are happy with his plans. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, could you guys please each give your name and address for the record?
Absolutely. Eileen Nene, 547 Davis Road.
Robin?
Robin Katz, Katz, 561 Davis Road.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to address the concerns. Is there someone else up there with their hand up?
Yeah.
Oh, Kathy, there she is.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
It's Kathleen Parker. I'm 70 Woodland Road. I'm across from Janice and diagonal from the property that we're speaking of. I agree with everything that Eileen and Robin just said. The orientation of the house changing, I was not aware of until I ran into someone on the street. I do agree that it would look a little bit strange, and our street is a known cut through, and I think the orientation of the driveway coming onto Woodland Road could be an issue. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm going to give you an opportunity to address everything here. But I'm also going to read the tea leaves for you. I think it might be in your best interest to take another look, back and talk to the neighbors and the neighborhood and try to find a way to get this done a different way. I know my predecessor had taken this opportunity to give someone an opportunity to maybe say, I need to take a closer look at my design. Again, this is your application. You can answer the questions.
So variance meeting before. Used to neighbors, not especially in this neighborhood. I think the average residential neighbor has been there 25 plus years. So I understand it's hard to accept change. So if we go back to 2006 and 2008, a lot of these houses came here for variances themselves to take their ranch and go up a story, to build a porch, out, to not adhere to the setbacks. Trying to adhere to the setbacks, I'm also getting more setback to the neighbor who has only 6 feet of property line, so she's at the existing house. I'm going to the setback requirement of 16 feet. A neighbor mentioned pulling the house back to 40 feet. Well, that's the setback. I can leave it at 30 feet. And that's what, at least one neighbor mentioned she doesn't like that the garage is on Woodland. Any new house built, the garage would have to be on Woodland. The house, the property line is only 78 feet. You couldn't have a house and 2-car garage and really adequate. So we took a lot of time to design this. We tried to make the house on Davis side look nice. It may even appear to look like the front of the house. And then the side of the house, again, we designed it so that aesthetically, where the garage is, positioned in a place where cars can get in and out easily on a corner lot. And we're also providing, maybe position the house is so that the buyers have a backyard that they can have a swing set in, possibly have a pool. Designing it differently because it's a corner lot, their swing set then becomes on the corner of Davis and Woodland. And it makes it a very difficult sell at that point. It's a very difficult house that's pleasing to a buyer, and their kids are playing right on the corner. So we designed it so that the kids would be playing not on the corner, but on Woodland. So we did a lot of thought on this. Again, the setbacks, we're over the setback by 5 feet, 6 inches for only 15 feet of the house. Other than that, we've met all 4 setbacks. It's easy, and I understand neighbors. I'll address the neighbor, the abutting neighbor. She's had the house, correct, it's 1,000 square feet. She's had a renter there for 10 years. They try to get her signature. She doesn't live in the house. So you have an owner that rents for 10 years. The renter signed off on it. The neighbor across the street, if we look at their square footage and lot coverage, right on par. So I think we did a really good job in trying to design a really nice house, keeping it as tight as possible. Take pride in what I build. I did build a house on Harvester. Somebody mentioned that. That house would not fit. So I can't just take that house and put it on this lot. It just wouldn't work. I will tell you this, a buyer or a builder builds a house and needs to offer a 1-year warranty. Those buyers at Harvester called me on the day the warranty was over to say my warranty was over. It's unheard of. Buyer would just sit quietly and think, well, I can ask for things. I build, I'm not a builder. I don't build a lot of houses. I build every 2 years. And I take a lot of pride in designing a house that I think works in the neighborhood. When we first went to get signatures, across the street, her comments were she's friends with the builder in the neighborhood and she didn't want to have a white house with black windows. So there's a lot of design opinions from the neighbors. She said the builder she knows doesn't do that. He's building a house around the corner with white and black windows now. So I don't know that we're doing white and black, but and I understand neighbors. When you live in a neighborhood for 25 plus years, you almost want it status quo, but if you go back when they built the house and went for a variance, status quo was a ranch that was cinder block, and that's not what it looks like right now.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Any other questions? Okay. Having heard all, I'm going to go ahead and close this hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, number 6 has been withdrawn. Move on to number 7, 515 Fairfield Beach Road, map 138, parcel 31, petition of Scott R. Hirsch for a variance of the zoning regulations section 11.1.4.1 to allow a detached structure to have finished living floor area with plumbing and heat. Permission to remove the existing detached garage and construct a new FEMA compliant garage with a home office, gym, and full bathroom. Premises is BD zone. Council.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm here today representing Scott Hirsch, who's seated right in the rear row. I confess to feeling a little pressure because having been here for some 40 years, I know you might be on the verge of setting a record, and I do not want to be the person who says we would have had that record if it wasn't for Fallon and his big mouth.
Pressure is duly noted and appreciated.
I know. So I'll try to be succinct. Obviously, the property is located at 515 Fairfield Beach Road. It is an oversized lot comprising 13,250 square feet. It's improved, as you know, with a single-family dwelling and a garage. With regard to the existing accessory garage structure, it is in very poor condition. It is not FEMA compliant, and as a practical matter, it's not functional. It also, I think we feel, and as I will elaborate on, our neighbors agree, has a negative aesthetic impact on the neighborhood based upon its current condition, which, by the way, Scott inherited when he bought the property in 2021. The main house, by beach standards, is a relatively small house. It's 2,578 square feet, and that plays into some of the points I'll make momentarily about what we want to do. The one thing I want to stress to the board at the outset, you'll recall I was in front of you last month with regard to another application seeking the allowance of the same variance for the finished floor area in the accessory structure. And I did go on at some length about the family situation, and I remember the comments in the executive session. I just want you to know, as one who has the honor of coming before you guys on a monthly basis, that my approach is I understand, as do you, the statutory requirements that are the focus and what has to be controlled. I do believe that out of respect for the board, I should provide you some context for the request to demonstrate that it is based upon a true need as perceived by the family, and it is not some frivolous endeavor to bend the regulations. So I won't dwell on it, but as I just give you some background in terms of what motivates Mr. Hirsch, I don't want you to think I'm trying to misfocus you from the basis that you have to apply to the decision. As I point out in my material, Scott is soon to retire as the senior executive of Ameriprise Financial. He's going to lose his office when he retires in March of 2025. He'll have plenty of time for volunteer activities. He serves now as the vice president of the Fairfield Beach Road Association. But he will be needing in his retirement days, as he continues to consult and provide executive leadership coaching for some of the top advisors in the company, a small area in which to work as a home office, and that's critical. His wife, Lorraine, as I also point out in the material, is a senior executive at IMRE, which is an advertising firm, and she substantially works at home and only going to the office 1 day per week. So you've got a main house which is not overly large, and a desire on the part of the Hirsches to have a small area that would be able to be addressed as their home office. So that certainly is an important part of what we are requesting. I also point out in my material some other family considerations that motivate this. Without going into great detail, Scott has 3 children. His oldest daughter, Madison, who's 28, is suffering from a serious medical condition that requires her to come home for the support of her family when she's having treatment in this area. Again, it would provide some private space for her when she's here to visit, so that she can be accommodated comfortably. His other son, Aiden, is a full-time student at Quinnipiac, but like all college students, they come home. So what motivates the application, and not an excuse for your careful consideration of the statutory standards, are the need for a home office, which you have recognized consistently over the last 3 or 4 years as we've moved through the COVID pandemic. And the whole process of life, I think, has changed. I think it used to be people wanted to get out of the house to go to the office, and they wanted to get out of the house for vacations and other recreational things. But the home has become much more centered now in terms of both office and family needs. And that's why I think you've seen a number of these applications. The house itself has been designed by my friend and colleague, Phil Cerrone, architect. I say the house, I mean accessory structure. And I believe it will have a very positive impact on the character of the neighborhood. We reviewed this with our neighbors. I'll provide copies of the petition momentarily. But before I do, I just want Phil to give us a brief overview based upon the plans that we submitted of the architectural design for the new garage. Phil.
Thank you, Mr. Fallon. For the record, my name is Philip Cerrone, architect. My office is here in Fairfield, Connecticut. As John said, we designed this accessory structure. Let me also point out before I talk about the building itself is that the current garage is actually over the side setback, and we're moving this one over slightly. So we'll be conforming with all the setbacks. And the structure itself on the first floor is a garage, which will be FEMA compliant. So on the front of the building, on the street side, it's gonna have some stone and garage doors, but most of the rest of it will meet the requirement of being 50% open. So the first floor, as I mentioned, is the garage with a little bit of workspace for Scott he does some woodworking at home. And then on the second, well, basically the first living space and the space above that, let's go to on that level there, you can see it's basically a living space, a game room, a space to kind of, hang out for his kids when they're there to be up there. And then on the level above that, as John said, Scott would be working from home. So we do have a home office space up there, and then the one bedroom, so that when his daughter's there, she has a comfortable place to stay, and occasionally the other children are there, they have a space that's a little bit more private too, because they don't have a ton of space in their house and they have almost no storage. As you know, most of the houses down there are built up higher, and so you don't get basements. And they don't really have much storage in the garage area, so we've created this and created basically a whole storage room on the upper floor so that they had a space to keep some things in this building. The architecture of the building on the outside is very much in keeping with the themes along the beach. It's a shingle style exterior, a simple gable roof on it. As I said before, on the front of it, we tried to dress up the street side a little bit, some nicer garage doors. Stone feature on the first floor. That's a quick thumbnail if anybody has any questions, otherwise.
It goes without saying, as I point out in my material, that the use of the property by Scott and Lorraine for their home office purposes is going to be just phone calls, things like that. They won't be seeing any clients. It's not the nature of what they do. As Phil points out, the upper storage area will provide them some much needed additional space with regard to storage of equipment and things of that nature, which they presently don't have, and which is very important for provision for weather and storms and things of that nature. So the only variance that we're seeking here is 11.1.4.1, requesting you to allow us to have within this accessory structure finished floor, livable area, and plumbing fixtures and heat. We're not seeking any other variances whatsoever, and as Phil pointed out, we're actually eliminating a nonconformity, which has legal significance, as I'll detail in my conclusion. So we get to the meat of the matter, and that is looking at this application in the context of 8-6A3. You have to make two findings. One, that what we are proposing will not substantially affect in a negative manner the comprehensive zoning plan. And number two, that there is some element of hardship sufficient to support the granting of the variance. With regard to the first aspect of the test, I cite to you, as I often do, the Egan case, in which our appellate court held that there will be no change, if there will be no change in the historic use of the property and or what is proposed constitutes a permitted use of the zone, then in fact, the first part of the test is satisfied. In addition here, we are taking a fairly unattractive and dilapidated accessory structure, and we are in fact turning it into a FEMA compliant attractive structure that will have a positive impact on the neighborhood. Scott did review this matter with all of our abutting neighbors, and I'll provide you all a copy of the petition they signed. I should also point out that there's one neighbor directly across the street, 799 Road. Scott spoke to him, showed him the plans. He is a hardworking plumber. He's on the road all the time, but I can represent to you based upon Scott's representations to me that that gentleman is also aware of the application, has no objection, and is supportive of what we're doing. The element that relates to the second here gets to the same thing that you've seen previously, as late as last month and previous times. And that is that when 11.1.4.1 was adopted, along with the rest of the beach regulations, I had the fortune or misfortune to be on the committee that wrote those regs. What was intended was to ensure that accessory structures in the beach area would not be utilized as a residence, would not be rented, would not be used as a dwelling. In this particular case, the floor plan makes no provision whatsoever for any cooking facilities, range, stove, things of that nature. And that, I believe, is consistent with the purpose and intent of the regulations with regard to the avoidance of utilization of accessory structures as a dwelling. As prior applicants have done, including the folks I represented before you last month, Mr. Hirsch absolutely agrees, stipulates to a condition of approval that the new structure will be maintained as proposed and will not be utilized, converted, or occupied as a dwelling in the future. It will be solely utilized for the purposes that I've elaborated for this record, a home office, some family recreational space, and an occasional space for his family members, including his daughter and son, to stay when they are visiting, or in the case of his daughter, unfortunately visiting for medical treatment. The other legal aspect of the case that I mentioned that's important is the Hyatt case. I've cited that to you many times. In Hyatt and other cases, the Supreme Court has said that when the end result of a variance application is the elimination of existing nonconformities, that provides to this board a separate independent basis to grant the variance, because elimination of nonconformities is something that is zoning. And then again, as I put in this place, unlike some of the other applications you've seen that also look for the variance for habitable space, this application seeks no other variances. Structurally, we are conforming in every respect: coverage, FAR, setbacks, height. And we are actually eliminating, as Phil said, the previous setback. So in summary, looking at your record, still may be standing. We seek approval to construct a long overdue replacement of an existing non-FEMA compliant accessory structure with a new FEMA compliant, tastefully aesthetically designed structure, which we think will have a very positive impact on the neighborhood. This will allow us to address the needs that we have for additional habitable space in an otherwise relatively small single-family home. And the granting of the variance of section 11.1.4.1, as previously approved in other applications by the board, is consistent with the purpose and intent of the Beach District regulations by ensuring that the accessory structure will not be utilized as a residence, but rather only to provide the additional space to address the needs of the Hirsch family. And we will back that up, as you should, with a condition of approval that would mandate that there would be no installation of any kitchen-related facilities, nor will it be occupied for any other purposes that this record intends and documents, including utilization as a dwelling. So we have 14.
Questions from the board? Go ahead, Christine.
Yes.
You first, do you have any pictures of your non-functional poor condition, the current facility?
I don't, I do not. The answer is I apologize, I didn't bring any pictures, but
Okay. Another question I have is, you mentioned that it won't be used as, like, he wouldn't be using it for business, like having visitors. Is he not allowed to do that based on the zoning regulation? So it doesn't matter.
Correct.
So you mentioned that he's a coach, so he could bring in clients and coach them in that place. It's not against the regulations, right?
It wouldn't be, but I'm advised by Mr. Hirsch that the nature of what he will be doing post-retirement will be via, Zoom calls, conference calls, things of that nature. And he will not be having customers or clients.
He's not, but he could.
Unless you want to condition it.
Right, but I'm just saying, it doesn't violate the regulations if you could do that.
It doesn't, but if that were an important consideration to you, since we're not gonna do it, you could embody that.
Okay, and then, you gave us the addresses of people who approved this. Is that everyone who abuts so you have because it's across the street behind, so you have those four.
Exactly.
Okay. And then another question is, and I know you cite, reasons that we should grant the variance, but does the home have an actual hardship?
I think the hardship for this particular variance that we seek, which has been recognized previously by the board, is that the proposed intent of the regulation, i.e. for the regulation that we're seeking the variance of, was designed to ensure that there would be no utilization of an accessory structure as a primary dwelling. And that therefore, by addressing it through a condition of approval, that is satisfactory. So the hardship is that the regulation's purpose and intent are not in any way avoided by way of the granting of the variance. And that's what we are.
Okay, and I guess this could be a discussion for later, but can a hardship be the intent of 11.4 wasn't what this is? Because, you know, we can only see what we can read. We look it up, it says this kind of structure cannot have water, it cannot have electricity. But to your point, you're saying that wasn't the intent of 11.4.1.
Right. And the only other thing I can say about that I think is relevant, you do decide every application on a case-by-case basis. You're not bound by precedent. However, as recently as last month, granted a variance at 1177/1180 Fairfield Beach Road for this very variance. That was an application that also required certain structural variances. And the reason I make that point is not to say, hey, you did it once, but one of the things I think you also want to be consistent about is there's a big issue in zoning, or a big principle in zoning, called uniformity of application. So it would be very difficult, respectfully in my judgment, to find that in July, based upon the same claim of hardship, granted a variance for the specific regulation, and then in August, you found that hardship to be lacking. And again, I don't mean that to sound like anything other than a reasonable response.
Thank you.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, if I'm looking at this right, you know, the current lot does not meet the square requirements. So that's a pre-existing non-conformity.
It is, although I'm not seeking any setback variances, so I can't really in good conscience in terms of Ms. Hogan's question say, well, my hardship is I've got a non-conforming square. But you're right, the lot is non-conforming. Notwithstanding that, we're eliminating the setback non-conformity.
I saw you peeking. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone here in the room wishing to speak in favor of this application or online? Seeing none and hearing none, anyone in the room wish to speak in opposition to this application? Either here or online? Haven't heard from David, haven't. Just wanna make sure. Okay, seeing none and hearing none, this application is closed. Does anybody want 5 minutes or any period of time to go to the restroom or anything else? Okay, let's get right into the executive session, shall we? So continued docket number 7 was continued to 9/5. Number 111 Toll House Lane, map 14, parcel 59, petition of Christina Hodson Revocable Trust for a variance of the zoning regulation, section 5.2.4.3, to reduce the street line setback for an accessory structure from 40 feet, currently 26.4 feet, proposing 26.4 feet, permission to legitimize an existing shed, premises is R3 zone. Need a motion to approve.
To approve.
Jane motions to approve,
I'll second.
seconds, and discussion, please.
This is a building that's not on a permanent slab, so it's raised in the future. It's tough behind a fence. It's a piece of land that has a very steep topography and doesn't create hardship on any neighbor.
Other discussion? None, hearing none. Let's start with Joe.
Yes.
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Motion passes, variance granted. On to number 2, number 20, Ronald Drive, map 76, parcel 11, petition of Susan and Mark Stefano for a variance zoning regulation, section 5.2.4.3, to reduce the sideline setback for an accessory structure from 10 feet, currently 2.1 feet, proposing 2.1 feet, permission to legitimize an existing shed, premises is R3 zone. Need a motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Chris motions to approve. I need a second. Seconds. Discussion, please. No.
Somebody else?
I know. Not going first unless anybody else is speaking up. In that case, I'll go first.
This is the shed was only installed 2 years ago, so it's essentially brand new. It's not fastened to the ground. There's no, I can't think of any reason or hardship why it couldn't just be moved over and have.
So I disagree with you from the letter of the law. The only points that I would cite are the lack of objections from anyone in the neighborhood. I would also point out that to me, it seems a little bit punitive to make them move the shed based on the uses of the property, the way that it exists and is situated. It's close, but it's not really impinging or infringing on a neighbor. There was no objection. It doesn't need to sit in the smack middle of the property.
You're all dead.
Quiet,
Cause this is
Quiet.
the piece of property that abuts the cemetery.
and I have a fence too.
So this is just saying, thank you, but this is just us. Just, I don't see any real reason to force them to move the shed 8 feet into almost the center of the property. Which seems punitive to me. Any other?
I just want to mention though, I think that as we see each case one by one, the concern would be, where does it go? Because people put things up, and I think a lot of times they really don't know that they're in a setback, and then you say yes later, you know, what's that expression?
Better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission.
But I just think, I just wanted to make note of that, but I have nothing else to say.
Joe?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Jane?
I was like, no.
And I'm gonna say yes. That is granted. To number 3, 218 Woods End Road, map 147. Parcel 71, petition of David Finger and Michelle Schneider for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4 to reduce the sideline and sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 7 feet and 25 feet, currently 6.6 feet and 23.7 feet, proposing 6.6 feet and 23.7 feet. Permission to construct a second floor addition with attic above. Premises is A zone. I need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Joe got that
I'll
one.
second
Sorry, Chris, you got second. All right. Discussion, please. We'll state that he set a land speed record.
I got out I.
Discussion on the application, please.
There's no additional coverage required. Ours still under.
They're building straight up. Joe?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Much. On to number 4. 55 Pope Street, map 42, parcel 441A. Petition of Benjamin Diabene and Sarah Assay for a variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4 to reduce the sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 20 feet, currently 15 feet, proposing 15 feet, proposing to construct a second floor addition, premises is B zone. I need a motion to approve. Gotcha. Second. Jane seconds. Discussion, please.
Exactly what it is. No additional coverage and you're fine as far as FAR.
Building straight up. Let's just complete the round robin. Correct. And Joe? Yes.
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 Jane?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Done. And on to number 5. 550 Davis Road, map 47. Parcel 172, petition of Sound Vision Group Davis LLC for a variance of zoning regulation section 5.2.4 to reduce the secondary street line setback from 30 feet, currently 22.2 feet, proposing 25.8 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase the total lot coverage and floor area from 15 and 30%, currently 14.7% and 14.4%, proposing 17.1% and 37.2%. Permission to construct a new 2.5-story single-family dwelling with a front porch. Premises is R3 zone. Motion to approve. Moves.
Jane seconds.
Jane seconds. Discussion.
Asking to build too big a house.
Well, that was about as succinct and urgent as you can get. Any other discussion?
Address aesthetics and neighbors do want roadie side of the street, but that's not it. That's application, that's engineering department.
I would say,
Care about where swing sets are going.
no, I would say that we do go ahead, yep. I was just gonna say your aesthetic, but yeah, go.
Sellability is also nothing. But it's a brand new house and it's designed. Yeah. Open your pencil. Zoning.
Yes. So I would say that I, with Jane on 99.9% of it is, we do to an extent, look at aesthetic in that it is consistent with the comprehensive zoning plan and that it is consistent with the neighborhood. There are some houses of about the same size in the neighborhood. Clearly new structures to the neighborhood. I get the lack of comfort. But given the amount of objection from the neighborhood, I think that the builders kind of behoove to try and find a way to work better with the neighbors. Not specifically in design, but at least in relevance to the regulation. Joe?
No.
Faith?
No.
Jane?
I'm a no.
And I'm a no. So that motion does not carry. On to number 6, which has been withdrawn. And then on to number 7. Petition of 515 Fairfield Beach Road, map 138, parcel 31, petition of Scott R. Hirsch for variance of the zoning regulation section 11.1.4.1 to allow a detached structure to have finished living floor area with plumbing and heat, permission to remove the existing detached garage and construct a new FEMA compliant garage with a home office, gym, and full bathroom. Premises is BB zone. A motion to approve. Consider that. So I'm gonna reread the add it right after that. The condition was that they would, trying to remember the way he worded it. There would be no kitchen or permanent living facility. Okay, so I'm gonna reread the roll call. 515 Fairfield Beach Road, map 138, parcel 31, petition of Scott R. Hirsch for a variance of the zoning regulations section 11.1.4.1 to allow a detached structure to have finished living floor area with a plumbing and heat, permission to remove the existing detached garage and construct a new FEMA compliant garage with a home office, gym, and full bathroom, with the condition offered that there would be no cooking facilities ever put into this structure. Premises is D zone. I need a motion to approve with condition. Jane moves, need a second, Chris seconds. Discussion, please.
So I could bring up something. So this is all, they're seeking a variance of this 11.4.1, 11.1.
Yep.
Why do they, I can't understand why they need a variance, why they should be granted a variance. You know, I think Attorney Fallon discussed that. The intent wasn't to stop this, right? To stop an office. Well, how do we know that? Like, what we're told is by the town regulations that an accessory structure cannot have electricity and plumbing. Right? That's what this is that just, you know you could argue it, but that's what it says, right? No, but just.
Letter of the law,
Well, no,
yes,
what
the
it
answer is
says,
yes.
not the
What it says
what
is
it
yes.
says, right?
Plumbing and heat,
Plumbing and heat. It
not
can't have-
electricity. You can have
It can't
electricity.
have plumbing and heat.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is we have to decide, this variance, do we want to grant this variance? And I was not here, I guess, when Attorney Fallon also brought up the last meeting. I wasn't here for that, so I can't talk to why that was or wasn't approved. But I think that's where we have to have our discussion. Does everyone agree about that? Joe?
So every application is presented on its own merits, and we make the decision. It's not.
You don't have to explain that, I get
There's
it.
no other merit, it's not why do they, the question is not why do they.
No, the
The question
question
is, why should this application be given merit, or why should it be denied?
well, no, I think you're asking for a variance of this regulation.
Correct.
Right, okay. So what does everyone think about that? Jane, what do you think? Joe, what do you think?
Actually, right now,
Oh, in the rule, I read them. It's under the beach.
I see it, I've got it right here.
Basically, if they wanna change the regulations, why don't they just go zoning and change the regulations?
Well, we are a precursor to that happening, and in a lot of cases, if there are enough variances granted against or kind of showing that a regulation is out of date, then the planning and zoning board could possibly be willing to undertake that.
I think that if you go up and down that street, you'll see enough people who have done it or have
Right,
rights
and
to do it.
Right, and we've consistently, and I'm not saying with precedent, but I'm saying that we have consistently proved renovations of garages up and down the beach area to allow for offices and spaces that could be used for 98% of what they're looking to use the space for.
Because it also says that it can't have livable floor area.
Right.
So it's more than just.
So there's a delineation between, and they're asking for what technically, because it has plumbing and heat, would be livable. But there is a delineation, and the reason the condition was offered, that there would be no kitchen, and this would not be a space of residence. It's a space of use, just like an office would be, just like a gym would be, just like many of the applications that we've heard for building above a garage across the town of Fairfield and in the Beach District. The application itself sits on.
No, actually, I was under the impression that it was, and it was presented always, as it could not be used as livable space for a separate accessory apartment. That seemingly is not what it says.
It's not what it says.
And at that point, I think planning and zoning, not that I'm against doing it, I think they need to change because Fairfield has changed. The
But we're-
regulations need to change.
And it's kind of like legislating from the bench for us, because we've consistently shown that structures like this are a reasonable use of the space in these zones. in terms of this application, I would have no objection to granting such a variance, not only based on consistency, not only based on, to answer your question, during the hearing, I drove by it, I've been by it 100 times, it's pretty. This would be a significant improvement to, all due respect to the shed, but it's not pretty. It's FUBAR. And replacing it and building what they're offering is a significant improvement, I think, not only aesthetically, but structurally to the neighborhood. It doesn't increase any sightlines, it doesn't produce any other objectionable outcome for the area.
Yeah, I wonder what anyone else thinks. Does Joe have anything?
You're. On the face of it.
I also, it's obviously clear, but there was no objection brought by anyone in the neighborhood. Signed off by all abutting neighbors. It was met with favorable sentiment, and that's denoted by what was turned into us.
But how does it get to planning and zoning? If we turn it down, it's the neighbors may band together and say, we need to have this changed. Or we do that, but at some point, when you look within yourself, you're saying, I'm going against zoning regulations. And that's not what I'm supposed to do.
Every single thing we do goes against zoning regulations. Every single
Yes, but
one that we apply.
that's with hardships.
We can make the determination whether or not there's a hardship. From what I understand, and some of us seem to agree or disagree, whether or not we agree or disagree, have the purview to hear any hearing. The intent or the simple fact that we have granted approvals up and down this district for very, very similar applications in terms of sense of consistency. If we were to deny this just to get it to zoning, TPZ, the waste not only of the applicant's time, but of our time, and it's not how that gets done.
But I don't think that's what she said. No, I'm saying that at a certain point, you have to say to yourself, if they don't take this up and change the regulations, how will this happen?
And that's
And this
a
has
political-
happened before.
And it's a political question. It's not a question that we're here to answer.
Well, they don't know to do it unless it's brought to their attention.
And we can talk to somebody can talk to TPZ, the attorneys can talk to TPZ. But what the other thing that I think we would be open to slightly, and I know it was not meant as a threat, veiled or otherwise, is the fact that we have consistently approved structures like this in this district. We approved one the month before, precedent or not. It almost looks like a very simple appeal. Puts everyone through expense, but that's life. And I think frankly, I think that we possibly lose that on appeal. There was no objection from the neighborhood. There was no objection brought anywhere that I saw. We can't see a strong enough foundation to deny it just because we're doing what we do with every application. Every application has a variance that we're here to, or a zoning regulation that we're here to grant the variance of. Please.
Trying to approach this from the context of the lot and existing. Is there reasonably a way that this extra space could have been added to the house? Therefore, it's not an accessory building. This is just for discussion, it's not the.
If you look at it even on Google Earth, there are 4 or 5 houses that are contiguous structures that would, literally, if you just took away the green space in their backyard, there are houses that match that size. And all they would be losing is their backyard, and we would be sitting here looking at an FAR question and probably a lot coverage question. They do have green space behind the house, they have some green space up to the beach side on their property. So I don't think, I state clearly that they are not in a position, they're currently parking a car alongside this dilapidated, barely call it a garage. It's not something that's gonna be hulking or overbuilt, and there's no FAR here, there's no lot coverage question here. It's simply, in my opinion, granting the use of allowable building space for better structure and for a use that a tenant can, I don't wanna say occupy because it's not a residential space. It's a space that they can make more functional use out of their own property. So, again, our biggest things have always been FAR and coverage. None of that is a problem here. It's just a function of what they want to do above their garage, which is what we've granted up and down this entire town.
I think it's not that, it's a function of us not of giving a variance to 11.4. It's not that what you said. We have to be clear, how we vote, I just think we have to be clear about what we're doing, okay.
And I think, and that's what I'm saying though, I think that this regulation, as is pointed out, at this point seems not only out of date, but out of touch with the way that.
That's not our job.
Again, it is our job.
No,
If
our job is
it
not to
presents a
say-
hardship, if we decide it presents a hardship,
True. That's
then
true.
it is our job.
Correct. Okay, I agree.
So. Any other comments, questions, statements?
So let me just, thought that I had. This space were attached to the house have presented a problem from the application standpoint. If everything was attached and not an outbuilding and not covered by was not an accessory structure, would there be a problem? It might be a design problem, but there would be a maybe before us.
I'm looking at you, Matt, because I don't know the math. Jane, you might know the math. Just wanna make sure Joe's at his say.
Yeah, it's coming out of the ears.
That's okay, and I wanna give it a minute to clear before I ask for your vote, that's all. Okay. So if there's nothing else, Joe, the old ears and. Chris.
Obviously, you didn't wait long enough.
I waited as long as I felt we could.
This is the last one I will say yes to. So Matt, do what you have or don't call me up because I don't like doing this sort of thing.
Yes, Jane?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Carries. Thank you very much, everyone. This hearing is closed. Thank you.